Hi there, it's Savine. And today I want to focus on setting boundaries in your personal life. As social workers, we're pretty used to talking about boundaries in our workspace. But when you think about your personal life, are you able to set boundaries? Are you able to say no enough? Are you unapologetically saying yes to the right things? You see, I never learned how to say no and when to say no as I was growing up. Being raised in a South Asian culture meant you always had to be there for people. And saying no would mean that people would look down upon you. And as I got older and my parents needed me more and more to help out with the family, with financial things, the more that happened, the more they needed me, the more I went down the path of saying things like, yes, sure, of course, okay, even though I didn't have it in me. It wasn't until I reached my rock bottom of giving, to the point where I didn't have anything more to give to the people in my life, in my personal life. It wasn't until that moment that I realized the importance of saying no, even if it felt like the other person was going to drown if I didn't help. And that was a really hard feeling and a hard experience to deal with. Want to know something else that I didn't learn growing up? I didn't learn how to say yes. Unapologetically yes for things that I wanted, that I needed, and that I desired. I always thought that my yes would be an inconvenience to the other person. And so even when I did express my needs or wants, I constantly justified them, explaining why I needed that, why I desired something like that. And so I never learned this skill as I was growing up. This act of giving probably is in your nature, right? It's who you are. It's probably why you became a social worker. And it makes me and it makes people like you a better social worker, because we have the ability to be compassionate, be empathetic, and give, right, from our true hearts. But when it comes to our personal life, we forget that because we are doing so much of giving in our profession, in our everyday life, right? Hours and hours of the day, right? 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, we're just giving. That when we leave that workspace and come into our personal space, if we continuously give there too, that's going to affect the work that we're doing. So as social workers, we have to find this balance of setting boundaries not only in our workspace, but also in our personal space. Because I grew up with these values of not being able to say no when someone needs you, I don't think that people like me, or even people like you who can resonate with this, are actually ever going to feel completely comfortable in saying no, completely comfortable in setting boundaries in terms of when people ask you for help, when they need you. But the truth is that I've learned the skill to do that anyways. Even though I know it doesn't always feel comfortable. It kind of goes, against my nature. But I do it anyways because I know that that makes me more whole. It puts me in a space where my cup is filled more so that I can then give more at work and in my personal life to those who I care about. Here are some examples of things that it is okay to say no to in your personal life. It is okay to say no to volunteering your time. I grew up in a culture where volunteerism is huge. It's a huge part of my religious community and my cultural community. It's something I really value, and it brings me true joy. But once again, I want to remind you that it's okay to say no to volunteer your time when you need more space to recoup and to heal. Another thing that it's okay to say no for is to help your friends and family through difficult emotions. Here's the thing. Are you the family therapist like I am? Are you the go-to person when someone has a breakup? I am. I've been there. I've been there and I do it all the time. But I've learned to set those boundaries as well. Because I'm your friend, I'm not your therapist. Because I'm your daughter, I'm not your therapist. I can't provide the same level of giving, right? And so it's important to be able to say no for that as well, okay? And it's also okay to say no on giving up on the things that bring you joy. If painting, if art brings you joy, don't say no. Don't give up on that. Say no when it's needed, because that's not something that's negotiable for you. That's not something that you're willing to negotiate. Say no and set boundaries so that you can still do the things that bring you joy. Here are some things that you should be saying yes to, unapologetically yes. The first thing is to spend money on you. This was a really hard one for me. It's okay to say yes to spend money on your growth, on your healing, on your health, on your personal development, because you matter. It's also okay to say yes to taking time to be lazy. This was also a hard one for me. I thought I always had to justify why I was taking a day doing nothing. I always had to have a justification for it. I'm not feeling well, maybe this is happening, but I don't make excuses anymore. I unapologetically say, yes, I need time to be lazy. That's something I need and I want it. And lastly, it's okay to say yes when it comes to asking for your needs to be met. Know what your needs are and say yes when someone offers you that help. And don't justify it. Don't constantly explain why you're saying yes. Say the yes unapologetically, because you deserve that and you matter. I really hope this video was helpful. The point is to always set boundaries in your workspace, but also not forget to set boundaries in your personal life, because you're a social worker, because you have work to do, and you can't do that work when you're drained and depleted. So you have to create enough time and space for you to refill your cup. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please share it with another social worker, and I will see you next time.